Guys, welcome back to Quick Notes with Cardone. Today we're going to be talking about the book 10X by Cardone. It's a really interesting book. It really talks about how you can sort of take advantage of whenever you fall short on goals and basically how to make sure that you're constantly developing a level of success. And it's really awesome because you can instantly start applying it either tomorrow to start making results for your future. So the first thing that it talks about is that goals are often much harder than expected. Whenever you set a goal, genuinely speaking, when you first start to attempt it, when you first start putting the effort in, you end up getting a little bit of a setback because you realize, oh, this is a little bit more for what I bargained for. Whether it's starting a new workout routine, whether it's looking towards starting a new business, whether it's picking up a new skill, picking up a new sport, your initial first weeks, especially if you have a reasonable set goal, you're going to be a little bit taken off guard by how much harder it was than expected. So the book talks about the way that you overcome this is by first of all setting an expectation that's 10 times higher than what you initially set. In other words, 10 extra goals. So an example of this would be like if you were wanting to set up making $500,000 a year. Saving $500,000 in the bank, putting $500,000 in the bank. Now that's a pretty reasonable goal, especially over a period of time, whether it's a 5-year period or a 10-year period. But it's reasonable. You're able to live a definitely luxurious life at that point, like you'd be middle class and stuff like that. But it's not excessive, it's not ridiculous. And in fact, most people who would set a goal would probably fall short, either by a couple $100,000 or a little bit more. So when you first initially start working towards it, chances are you're probably working about a $50,000 a year job. Those are the most common ones. And then you'll be like, okay, well, I realize that I have my expenditures, I realize that I have my lifestyle prices, I realize that my outgoings are going to be a little bit higher than I thought, and it's going to take me a little bit longer to make $500,000. Now, the reason that is because you set out to basically try to just make $500, so of course you're probably most likely going to fall short. And on top of that, your expectation was a little bit hit harder than you thought. So the way that the book talks about overcoming that is by making it 10x. So for example, if you times that by 10, that's 5 million. So now you're looking towards trading a $5 million in the bank. All of a sudden that $50,000 a year job just simply isn't going to cut it, and you're going to have to look towards doing a lot more in order to make sure that you do hit the deadline and you do hit the monetary amount on time. So that's basically what it sets up. Your expectation is now so much higher for what it is that is going to result in getting that. So you're automatically going to put yourself in a position or a job or a business that's going to be paying you more. And that way, no matter what, you're going to fall short. But which one would you rather fall short on? $500,000 or $5 million? Well, the chances are you would pick 5 million and it'd be a lot higher than 500,000. So by setting 10x goals, you've all of a sudden increased your chances at success. You've increased your achievement. That's just by default. Now the next thing is understanding a big margin of safety. So you fall short on about 9 out of 10 goals. 9 out of 10 things that you set, you will always fall short. So what this allows you to do is basically if your initial goal is 500,000, no matter what, based on that logic, you should pass and surpass that, either by a little bit or by a lot. So that way it sort of accounts for that mistake, that misstep, and make sure that you're always actively achieving your initial goal, even though you're looking towards achieve the 10x one. But the next part that's really important is making sure that your perception on the 10x. You do want to achieve that 10x goal. You don't want to just achieve the initial first goal. Now, by doing this makes sure that you don't actually are secretly focusing on the 500K. You genuinely are looking towards achieving the 5 million. The book then talks about how you need to have a plan of action. So every goal involves a plan. That's just genuinely how it works. And if you don't have a plan, then you're just planning to fail. So if you're setting out to make $5 million and you're setting out to initially make $500,000, what's your initial plan? What was your initial misstep? So first of all, you're probably looking towards, like I said, getting a $50,000 a year job. Now the key is to 10x that as well. So you don't need to get it. Now you need to get a job that pays $500,000 a year, or at least the business that's looking towards paying you. So that will then equate towards making $5 million. So what is the steps that you need to take to make sure that your 10x goal also has a 10x plan? Let's maybe relate it more towards a fitness goal. Let's say that you're initially planning to go to the week 2, maybe 3 times a week. Gym 2, maybe 3 times a week. That is going to be initially pretty doable. But every single person who sets a goal always falls short. So the first 3 weeks, you may find that quite easy, but then all of a sudden you'll end up missing some, and all of a sudden you're not going. But let's say you 10x your plan of action, and you're like, all right, I'm going to set out to go to the gym every single day. Every single day I'm going to be at the gym, either doing cardio, lifting weights, or both. Okay? And now all of a sudden the way that you're falling short is by a few days, so you're still above the 2, so you're probably averaging about 3 to 5, rather than 2 to none. So do you understand how by implementing a higher plan of action, it also increases a higher plan of a higher goal achievement? And that's really what the book talks about, understanding that no matter what, you're going to fall short. So which goals do you want to fall short on? And if you can understand that concept, then you can understand that aiming higher is always going to produce overall a far greater result, because you're always going to feel the pain of falling short, but which goals would you rather fall short on? The next one is understanding that you need to create your own luck. So this is a really interesting one. It's about stacking your odds. So many people view successful people as people who just rolled the right dice at the casino. They just got lucky, basically. It was a decision that they made at the right time at the right place, and they were able to capitalize on it. And that probably is true. In fact, I guarantee that it is true. But the difference is that they were able to roll that dice so many times. Or they rolled a dice that was so heavily in their favor that they had money on every single number of that, except for maybe one. For example, so many people view successful people like LeBron James as someone who just got lucky. He won the genetic lottery. And yeah, and you know, honestly, he might have done that, being 6'9" or whatever height he is. But the truth is that he put in the effort, he put in the work, he capitalized on his probability of that dice that he rolled by training, by practicing, by missing as many shots as he possibly could in the gym to make sure that when it came to game time, he made the ones that counted. And then this is what it talks about, how success is really about stacking the odds. No matter what, everybody has a dice that they're going to roll. It's about which ones that you have in your favor. So what can you do to make sure that every single time you are rolling, you have the highest possible chance at winning? And that's what success is. It's either by making as much businesses as possible. For example, Warren Buffett is arguably one of the most successful people of our generation, of like this past century. Now, so many people would think that maybe he got lucky, but the truth is he owns 400 companies. He owns 400 companies. There's a reason why he's a multi-billionaire. And it's because he owns 400 companies. He started over that many businesses and he has so many investments in so many different others. That's the reason why he's able to have so much of an income coming in. Because I guarantee you that the companies that he did own, he probably failed more than the ones that are succeeding. But it's about the ones that are succeeding that matter. And so that's how you can sort of duplicate it yourself and understand that that's how basically money works. If you have so many things that are going, some things are going to pop off. I really like talking about the popcorn analogy, how when you make popcorn, you don't put one kernel in the frying pan or however it is that you make it at your place. You put hundreds or thousands. And some may pop and some may not, but you account for the fact that you're going to get a certain amount. You put enough popcorn in that you know you're going to get roughly this amount of result. Now, that's the way that success works as well. Either through making sure that you have enough clients on the way, where there's an abundance mindset behind it, where you're just going to shotgun market as much as you can, or you're going to start as many businesses as possible to make sure that no matter what, some are going to pop off. The average business owner fails 7 businesses. 7 businesses before he creates a successful one. So if you're already going through that scarcity mindset where you're just trying to get 1 or 2 clients at a time, where you're focused so much on the ones that you have, then you need to change it and just understand that it's a numbers game. And it's about capitalizing on your skill set and your character to make sure that those numbers increase, but it's about first rolling the dice enough times to make sure that you're going to get a result. See, no matter what, if you talk to enough people, you're going to get a few. There's going to be a few people who buy what you're selling. There's going to be a few people who invest with you. There's going to be a few people who partner with you. But it's about going through the motions of first taking that probability into account, rolling as many dice as possible so you know you're going to get some results, and then capitalizing on where you can to increase the probability, creating your own luck, because luck really is just probability, and that's what it talks about with success. The next thing that it talks about is that fear is really an indicator on what you should focus on. If you feel a level of fear, whether it comes to your job, whether it comes to your business, your relationship, whatever, that's probably an indication on what you should be focusing on executing, on what you should focus on doing. If you can basically master that, then you're always going to be constantly growing. There's a famous quote that talks about be comfortable with being uncomfortable. If you're constantly uncomfortable or have that level of feeling where you don't exactly know what's happening or you don't know exactly what to do, then that's an indication of learning. And if you're actively learning, then that means you're taking a step in the unknown. And that means that, genuinely speaking, you're probably progressing as a person. So if you can constantly utilize that, especially in the world of business, where you're moving through a bunch of different fields, a bunch of different processes to understand which are the ones that work for you, until this uncomfort becomes comfortable, then that's how you know that there's an indication of you are progressing, your money will follow. Finally, don't compete, dominate. You don't want to go into a new industry or starting a new business in order to just be one of the people who are making a little bit of money. If by the means of the books is that you always fall short on goals, and that's the same way when it comes to competing. You have to play to win. Don't play to not lose. How many times if you've ever played a sport where you're really scared of the opposing team, so you're just trying to make the loss not as humiliating, and then you end up losing by a lot? Or you go into a new industry and you're trying to basically make it seem as if you're not going to lose and you just want to be a medium performer and you end up being the lowest one. You need to be in there to dominate. Don't go into an industry where you're just trying to, be a little bit good. You want to go in there to dominate, you want to go in to win, and that's the key to the book. If you can basically focus on all of those different things, 10x by Grant Cardone, then no matter what, you're going to be successful. Anyways, guys, that's it for Quick Notes with Cardone. But stay tuned for the other videos that we have in store. But don't stop there. Look for the other videos for improvement and putting yourself in a better position for success. I'll see you in the next one.